In today's video I'm going to show you how to remove the camshaft from this Mercedes with a V6 gasoline engine. The reason for that is to do an inspection on it and see in which conditions are the lobes which will push on the valves. So let's start with bank 2. Unplug the coil packs. With a 17mm you can pry out the spark plug wires. You can also mark these coil packs and install them on the same cylinder. On the valve cover you're gonna find two PCV hoses. Let's take them out. I will need to replace this because it was broken anyway. In my situation I've got the fuel pump disconnected from under the car, so not a lot of fuel will leak here. Now the valve cover is free, so you're gonna need the E10. So if you don't have the right extensions, you're gonna struggle a little bit here. Now the valve cover is free, so let's try to take it out. Next, let's take out the serpentine belt because we gotta move the crankshaft pulley. Okay, so we have to look for some markings here. We're gonna see 40 degrees. It has to match with this line here in the middle. Now the size of this crankshaft bolt is less than T100 because this one is too big, it doesn't fit in here. So instead of that I'm gonna use this oil socket. Number 40, it's aligned with that mark on the engine head. Now I will try to loosen this camshaft bolt. I'm gonna try to use a 14mm because I cannot place a socket in there. And I'm holding also pressed the wrench on the bolt. And here it comes, it's loosened now. Now let's secure the camshaft sprocket on the chain. And the sprocket will be out. Next we're gonna have 16 bolts which holds the rocker arm and the camshaft on, and we have to untighten them in the opposite order of tightening it. So we're gonna start from 16, 15, 14, 13 and so on. On bank 2 we've got 16 bolts, on bank 1 there are gonna be only 14. So let's start with bolt 16. Then the right bottom corner here, bolt 15. Bolt 14. Now take them out and keep them in order. Here it comes. And you notice that there was no pressure on this rocker arm. Now we should be able to take out the camshaft. Let it drip. Now on each cylinder you're gonna find one valve for the exhaust and two valves for the intake manifold. So on the camshaft we've got these two for the intake and this one for the exhaust. Again, these two for the intake and this one for the exhaust. The oil will come out through this little hole here on each camshaft seat. And it looks like we've got some scratches here. This one looks okay. This first one looks okay. This one looks acceptable. But as you can see, this middle one, it's a little bit scratched. And this makes sense because the most stressed part is gonna be the middle one. Next, you want to measure the cam lobes. So you'll have to measure the intake lobes separately from the exhaust lobes. And you should not find a bigger difference than 0.025mm. Now, how you know that you're measuring the correct spot? Well, keep a little bit pressure on your tool. And when you get the maximum reading, stop there, get the reading and note it on the paper. You've got this shiny pattern here where the camshaft will roll. And on this camshaft you can see the effects of not changing the oil on time. You will get a layer of burnt oil all over your engine. And that's not good for the longevity and even for fuel economy in the worst case scenarios. You'll have more friction on the internal engine components. Obviously you want to inspect as well the rocker arms and these rotors here. You have to also check them for any excessive slack. And also you don't want them to be very firm in there and stuck because that can create extra friction and they will fail. Now before installing it back, make sure that you lubricate all these contact points with oil. Okay, so the sprocket is on, and I highly recommend that you do this job in 2 persons because otherwise this is going to be very difficult. So what I did off camera, I basically pull this sprocket as much as possible and then I match it with the camshaft. It has here an indentation and it will match in. So yeah, this is basically the most difficult part of the job because you need to match them properly in there. Okay, now let's tie the bolt and place the rocker arm. Now let's insert the bolts and tie them by hand just a little bit. So first we're going to tie them all to 25 Newton meters, then 50 Newton meters. So there are going to be 2 sequences. You need to be 100% sure that you torque them correctly, otherwise this camshaft will not last for long. Now if you remember at the beginning, this zip tie was placed just a little bit more towards me. And obviously the 40 mark is not aligned right here. I will go ahead and crank the engine. The engine will not run or start because I'm going to take out the fuse from the fuel pump. And in that way you will also see that the timing is correct. Now let's install back the valve cover and make sure that you've got a new gasket or inspect the old one, reuse it, clean it. Okay guys, job done. Thanks for watching. Go ahead and check out the other videos I made about this V6 Mercedes engine. So stay tuned and I will see you in the next video.